Hello and welcome to my channel. This is where I make videos of AI generated images from our nightmare and stories told to us when we were children to keep us in line. For this video, we'll talk about Krampus, the legendary winter holiday demon from Central Europe. Let's get to the lore. You've heard the story before. Every Christmas time, Santa Claus comes to town and gives presents to nice children. And also, at least according to the stories, he also gives gifts to naughty kids. But they're just getting a lump of coal. Now that's the traditional Christmas story that's pretty much heard around the world. But there's also a version from Central Europe, mainly from Germany and Austria, that are darker, and it involves a hairy horned demon who happens to be Santa's sibling, or twin, or assistant, or simply partner in crime. The actual relationship is a bit mixed, so it's hard to label it precisely.
Who is Krampus?
Krampus is the name of Santa's companion in these mythos, and he is the one who punishes naughty children while Santa gives out presents. Throughout the year, when it's not Christmas, as we've been told, Santa Claus keeps a list of good children. In this version, Krampus is the one who makes a list of bad children. During Christmas, he accompanies St. Nicholas, aka Santa Claus, to children's homes. So he probably rides shotgun in Santa's sleigh. Maybe sometimes he drives, no one really knows for sure. As you've probably figured out already, Krampus looks like a half-goat, half-man creature. He's a sort of a demon in most tales. He has dark hair all over his body with cloven hooves for feet. He also has long pointed tongue and fangs.
How does Krampus punish naughty kids?
The stories are mixed in how children are punished. It could be as simple as birching, which means getting whipped by a birch rod, or it can be as gruesome as dragging them to his lair and locking them up where they can be tortured or eaten.
Where does Krampus dwell?
When he punishes children at his lair, where does he take them? Well, the stories are mixed, since this myth is prominent around Austria and Germany. It's been said that he lives somewhere in the mountains, like in the Bavarian Alps or some thick forest nearby. Maybe he lives in a cave, which is probably dark and filled with icicles. But this is Krampus. He's been around for centuries. He's a smart demon and he pals around with St. Nicholas. So I'd like to think that he's got style. So in my mind, and as suggested by Bing Chat, and illustrated by Staple Diffusion, Krampus lives in a large mansion somewhere in the Bavarian Alps. You know what? While we're here, let's take a tour of Krampus's home. I'm curious.
The foyer.
Let's start with the foyer. Like in most homes, it's where the host, here it is Krampus, would greet their guest. The foyer in his mansion will probably reflect a more winter wonderland so as to astonish his guests. So the walls will be made of ice with icicle trimmings, maybe a frozen disco ball emanating a bluish light throughout the room.
The office.
In his office, Krampus makes his naughty list while Santa makes his nice list. Sometimes they do this work at Santa's home, as you've previously seen.
The playroom.
As you know, Krampus punishes naughty kids usually by giving them a lump of coal and sometimes beating them with his birch rod. In extreme cases, he takes them away to torture, imprison, or even eat them. Now, this playroom is one of the ways he tortures badly behaved kids. It's where Krampus mocks the children's hopes and desires by giving them twisted versions of the toys and gifts they wanted for Christmas. He also makes them play cruel games and puzzles that have no solution. The room tends to be bright, colorful, and chaotic, with toys that are broken, cursed, or sometimes alive.
The maze.
Another way that Krampus likes to torture naughty kids is to make them run for their lives in a labyrinthine maze. Here, there are endless corridors and dead ends. He chases them and sometimes his demonic minions get to join. The labyrinth walls are made of very cold, solid ice.
The torture chamber.
You can't properly torture without a torture chamber. In here is where Krampus inflicts physical pain on the children with his birch rods, or chains, or hooks, or whips. Don't let the colorful balloons, disco ball, and arcade games fool you. This is a place of pain and nightmares. Look closely at the red chair. It has a spiked seat, but the spikes are not big enough to kill you. Krampus will sit a naughty child on there and cuff him or her in place. The pain will be excruciating for anyone on that seat. Also, to the left of Krampus is a creepy doll-like creature. She is the caretaker of the room, whose job is to make sure all the gadgets and machines are in tip-top condition. Her name is Whisper. At least that's what Krampus calls her nowadays, since that's the only way she can speak after burning out her vocal cords. While being mercilessly tortured, and yes, she was a former torture victim taken by Krampus a while back. Also, there's a few video game machines in there. Seems fun, right? But there are chains nearby. Those chains are for holding a misbehaving child in place while he or she is forced to play a video game. If he or she fails to win in the game, they are shocked with a jolt of electricity. It's not fun. And also, from the speakers are blaring noises of screams and cries. It will be relentless, jarring, and the sounds of agony that induces anxiety, paranoia, and despair.
The nightmare rooms.
The nightmare room is a place where Krampus bends the laws of nature and reality. In this twisted realm, the children's worst fears and memories come to life, tormenting them both physically and psychologically. Krampus uses his powers of illusion and hallucination to create a personalized nightmare for each child, ensuring that they experience a maximum amount of suffering. They are trapped in this room with their own fears, and there is no one to help them.
The workshop.
The workshop is where Krampus makes his tools and weapons, such as birch rods, his chains, his bells, and his sack. Just like Saint Nick, who has elves for helpers, Krampus also has his own assistant when making his tools. It's Mini Krampus, and he's very dedicated. The room has a small but capable forge, a workbench, all kinds of tools, as well as various materials such as metal, wood, and leather. Krampus and his helper also experiment with new inventions and improvements, such as adding spikes, blades, or explosive to his devices.
The patio.
The patio is typically where Krampus celebrates the winter solstice with his friends and associates. This photo includes the usual suspects of winter seasons. Let's go from left to right. First is the Namahagi, a winter ogre demon from Japan. In the background is good old Saint Nick. In the center is Krampus himself, along with his trusted helper Mini Krampus. Next, you'll see Winter Witch Perchta and an unknown guest. I'm not sure which is which, or can I say which is which? See what I did there? And finally, on the far right is a Yule Dwarf. Or actually, on the far right is a photo bomber.
The library.
The library is where Krampus reads books and scrolls about history, mythology, folklore, magic, and other subjects. This is how he learns about customs, traditions, and folk tales of different cultures. The room is cozy and quiet, with shelves full of books. There's a fireplace, a table, and chairs. Thank you for watching. Please leave me suggestions in the comments for future videos. I'd appreciate anything on cryptids, local legends, supernaturals, and any weird events. I'll see you next time.